So I finally watched The Burning, an early 80s slasher I'd somehow never seen all the way through. It's one of those movies that always comes up on podcasts or in classic slasher conversations, and I realized I had a very fuzzy idea of it, but no real memory of how it actually felt. So this isn't a deep dive. This is more like I watched it, here's what surprised me, here's what worked, here's what didn't, and here's whether you might want to check it out. So here's what I thought it did right. First off, this movie looks really good. The makeup and gore effects are genuinely impressive. And at some point it clicked why Tom Savini did the effects. The movie is very aware of how good they look, and it's not shy about showing them off. The score is also doing a ton of work. It's loud, dramatic, sometimes almost overwhelming, but it gives the movie momentum even when the scene itself is pretty simple. And the cast is fun. There are a lot of good character actors. And a young Jason Alexander shows up, which immediately makes everything feel safer just by association. You're like, oh, it's George, we're fine. Serenity now. That familiarity really lowers your guard. What surprised me most is how casually this movie treats violence. The killer doesn't just target people connected to what happened to him. He almost immediately kills a random woman in a really brutal way, and it feels less like revenge and more like straight up power move. And the movie doesn't really stop to sit with that. Instead, it keeps doing this thing where something awful happens and then it immediately cuts to something comforting. Like sexy campers, jokes, pretty people, a relaxed new setting. It's like the movie is constantly saying, don't think about that too hard. This is the part you're here for. There are even a few moments where the screen slowly dissolves into a full red image after something traumatic with a loud score and then suddenly drops into a much quieter, softer scene. For a second, it feels like the movie accidentally admits something bad just happened and then it moves on. Those moments stood out because they're rare. Most of the time, the movie is way more interested in keeping things moving than letting anything linger. There's also this character named Alfred. He's weird, creepy, quiet, shy, bullied, who I kept expecting to become important in a very obvious slasher way. Instead, he just mostly watches like a creep. There are moments where he observes violence from a distance, and at one point, there's even a hint of a smile. The movie doesn't really comment on that at all, though. It felt intentional. Like the movie is quietly acknowledging that watching violence can be satisfying and then choosing not to judge that impulse. Alfred ends up feeling less like a red herring and more like a mirror. Not a villain, not a hero, just someone consuming what's happening, which is kind of what the movie keeps asking you to do. And I won't dance around it. This movie has a lot of eye candy, and yeah, it works. The movie constantly uses attraction as a pressure release valve. Something horrible happens and then you're immediately given something nice to look at. Sometimes it even does both at once, jumping from a violent moment to a shirtless, handsome guy or girl, then right back into danger again. It's not subtle, but it is effective. And I think that's part of why the movie feels both entertaining and a little hollow at the same time. Fear, sex, and violence are all treated as interchangeable tools to keep you engaged. I'll say this without getting into specifics. The ending works. After a movie that's been pretty casual about cruelty and consequences, it finally settles into a much more traditional slasher ending. Things feel decisive in a way the rest of the movie often avoids. There's a clear sense of closure. It doesn't overcomplicate itself. It doesn't linger too long. It's the kind of ending that feels very confident in its genre. Like the movie suddenly remembers what kind of story it's supposed to be telling and commits to it fully. And honestly, after everything that comes before, that commitment feels weirdly reassuring. I landed around 3.5 stars out of 5 on this. I don't think The Burning is a great movie, but I do think it's a really interesting and entertaining one. You should watch this if you're curious about early 80s slasher logic, you like strong practical effects, or you're interested in how horror used comfort and spectacle to keep audiences engaged. You probably won't love it if you're looking for emotional depth. You want the movie to interrogate its own violence, or you're expecting modern horror sensibilities. If you do want to check it out, I've got a link in the description. It feels more like a time capsule than a classic, but it is fascinating. And if you like this more casual archive style I'm trying out, I'm going to keep doing these alongside my more structured analysis videos. Just me watching older movies, noticing what they do, and being honest about how they land now. Thanks for watching.